What is up, y'all? In today's video, we're going to talk about a new piece of gear I've added to my kit. I recently purchased the Zcam E2 cinema camera. I'm pretty excited about the capabilities of this camera and what it's going to allow me to do in future shoots. Now, don't get me wrong, the GH5 is a great piece of equipment and I still will probably use it a lot of the time, but there are situations where having a cinema rig that has the capabilities of the E2 is going to be perfect. So if you're a Zcam user or somebody that's interested in the Zcam, think about hitting that subscribe button down below because there's definitely going to be a lot more content coming on this channel about this camera. But today what we're going to do is take apart my rig and I'm going to take you step by step on how to build it up from a simple little box into something that looks like this. Let's get into it. This is everything that'll go into building this cinema rig. At the core of this, we have the Zcam. So this is a brain style camera, has a super small screen, so we're gonna need to attach external monitor to this. And it really doesn't have a great way to hold onto it. It's just this small little box. And so we're going to need to add a cage to this as well that allows us to connect a top handle, potentially a side handle down the line. And so the first step of this is to connect all the cage components to the camera itself. I like to use SmallRig for all of this stuff. I really love their products. They're affordable, but they're also really good quality. And they give you a lot of different options for how you're gonna customize your particular rig. So we're gonna start off by connecting the side plates to the camera. This cage comes in separate components, and so you actually kind of have to assemble it on the camera itself. So we've got two different side plates, and you just need to make sure you're connecting the right one on the right side. Flip the camera over, we'll connect the other plate on here. Okay, we have our side plates on, and this just gives us NATO rail connections on the sides as well as threaded holes that we can connect things to. Next up, we'll put the top section on that will allow us to attach a field monitor and such. Okay, so we've got three sides of our cage assembled. Last piece is the base plate for this. The cage that I purchased comes with an Arca Swiss base plate, which works really well for me. I use Arca Swiss for everything in my setup. So it's kind of nice that it's actually integrated into the base plate here. I really like that. The other great thing about this is we've got two threaded holes on the bottom of this, as well as a hole to make sure that the base plate doesn't swivel or anything like that. So all that works with the SmallRig cage. It is worth noting, this is the original Zcam E2 cage that SmallRig puts out. I'm told that they're going to actually be putting out a newer cage that is a solid unit, and I'm hoping I can get my hands on that once that becomes available and I can compare the two for you all so you can see which one might be a better fit for what you're trying to do. Next up, let's start adding NATO rails onto this so that we can attach some of our other components. I use this shorter one. I believe this is a 7mm rail that I'm going to put right at the top here. So the thing I love about all these NATO rails is they have these little safety divots on here. And so when you put on your top handle, for example, if for some reason it came loose, it's going to hit the edge of the rail here and it will stop. So you're not going to fully lose your camera if for some reason your quick release lever didn't stay tight. That said, I've never had this come loose on me. As long as you tighten it properly, it has always worked great. And so there's just a little clamp here on the back side. Just put that on there real tight. And there we go. We've got the camera and handle. Next piece that we're going to look at is adding our storage media to this camera. So you can shoot with CFast cards, which are really expensive, or you can use a micro mini SD kind of thing. This is from Angelbird. I really like the size of this. So we need to have a way to connect this to the camera with USB-C and a way to mount it. There's another product here from SmallRig. This is their universal SSD mount. And we're going to put this on the side here. Now I've opted to put this on this side of the unit because I tend to either hold it by the top handle and the lens like this, or down the line, I might be holding it by the top handle and a side handle. So if I put it on this side, the SSD would just be in the way of all that happening. And in here, it feels out of the way and helps with some of my cable management that you'll see here in a moment. So next up, let's add our monitor bracket and the monitor to this camera. So for that, we're using this little bit longer NATO rail, and I'm going to actually attach this onto the top handle right up here. Now, sometimes when I'm shooting, I just am capturing footage and I don't need to worry about audio, but often I want to have a high quality microphone attached to this, or something even just small to be able to capture some scratch audio. In this case, we're going to use the Rode Video Micro. It's just a nice streamlined mic. And so I needed to add some kind of a cold shoe to the camera. And I wanted to get it a little bit offset from the monitor side, which is why we've got this bracket like this. And I found this little cheese bar thing and cold shoe mount that I had lying around. And we're going to add this to the front here to offset our cold shoe connection away from the monitor and away from the handle. There we go. We've got our cold shoe connection. We can throw on our microphone here. For monitoring, right now I'm using the Ninja V. I actually don't need to use this monitor with this camera. The camera has internal ability to shoot in ProRes and all the formats, or the majority of the formats that this can actually record in. But I'm in the process of switching over to the Atomos Shinobi. It's a very similar monitor to this. The only real difference is no recording capabilities, and the battery has been moved to the center, which hopefully will actually help with some of the stability of the rig. I've got this connected through SmallRig's little quick release NATO EVF mount, which is really nice because it swivels. You can get a lot of different angles of shooting, and it just connects on here quite easily, just snaps on. Again, is protected from falling off with those quick release stops, and then we can just lock this in place. So that is what we are working with now. Next up, let's throw on the SSD. And so that just fits into this spring-loaded clamp here. We can work on some of our cabling here. Just going to run the microphone cable across the front. And then we have our microphone port here. This is a really hard little door to open. It's quite annoying, actually. And so I saw a video posted just to put a little piece of gaff tape around that to act as a little pull handle. It works really well for getting that open. Plug in the microphone. Then we'll plug in our USB-C for this SSD. And the SmallRig cage does come with this little USB lock here. Unfortunately, with the Angelbird drives, their plugs are so wide that it doesn't actually come in and out of this very easily. So I have to actually remove the entire plug when I'm taking it off, which is not ideal, but it does still hold it in place securely. I've been in touch with Angelbird about potentially making a right angle shaped plug so that we can have it a little bit slimmer to the camera. But for now, this does the job. So this just plugs in here. Okay, and then we just need to manage this cable a bit. So first I put this little loop in it here. This just helps shorten the overall length, but it works well to run around the front of the camera here. And then it plugs into the inside of the actual SSD. It's hard to see here, but the plug is deep inside, so it gives you some security that is not going to come undone. Let's throw on a battery here. So this runs on NPF style batteries. And the one thing that I do think I might change eventually is I'll probably get a V-mount set up for this so I can have a little bit of a heavier rig, run even a little bit longer. But these batteries are great because they run for a really long time. I tend to use the larger size. The reason for that is because I can actually get a little bit of protection of the USB-C port. It's sticking out fairly far, but it's not actually sticking out beyond the end of this battery. And so if I'm holding this tight up to my chest or something like that, I'm not bumping into that cable, which I really like. It makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. So then we can throw on our HDMI cable. We can put our battery on. And then the last thing that we need is to add the lens. So we can pop that open. I'm using Metabones Ultra 0.71 and the Sigma 18-35. So the speed booster does a really good job of giving some extra light for this camera since it is a micro four thirds sensor. And so right now you can see the rig is a little bit front heavy, so it tends to want to lean forward. If there was a V-mount attachment on here, it would probably be a bit more balanced, which I think will be nice so that when you're holding it, it's not actually leaning forward. But this is a rig in progress. You'll be seeing this thing develop over time, but I'm pretty excited with how this came together. It's a pretty streamlined setup, and I'm able to drop it right into my backpack without having to disassemble anything. All I need to do is unlock this here. I slide this over, bring it down, unplug the HDMI just to be safe, and I can drop it in the bag like that because it has a narrow footprint. So Works really well in that way. So that is my rig. I'm pretty excited to put this camera to use in some actual shoots. I've done a few test shoots, but nothing that really has put it through all of its paces, and I'm curious how it's gonna hold up against the GH5, if it's gonna be easy to use in different situations, and really how working with the footage at the end of the day is gonna feel. So, stay tuned on this channel. I'll be doing lots more content on the Zcam and really sharing how my experience is with this camera. But until the next video, get out there, make something beautiful, and I will see you all soon. Peace.